Everything you need all in one place. Let me explain. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on all listening platforms like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many more. It's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So go ahead, download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What's going on, world? This is Isaiah from Making It Make Sense with Isaiah, Theo, and Vincent. Remember to subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube page at Making It Make Sense, ITV, and listen to new episodes every Friday, and maybe slide into our DMs on Instagram. Or actually, just leave us a comment at Making It Make Sense, ITV. Stay conscious and stay lit. What's going on, world? Welcome back to Making It Make Sense with Isaiah, Theo, Vincent, and Danielle. So I think you guys know what we're going to talk about right now. If you don't, you're about to find out. So obviously, there was a little situation at the Oscars. And
a little one.
Just a little.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. Like, I think it was like, I heard like it was like a little slap or something. I don't know. But I mean, let's get into
the flap that was heard around the world. Literally, everyone knows about this flap.
Yeah. And some versions censored and some not. So let's get into it.
I heard the uncensored version.
So did I.
That's how I knew it wasn't a joke.
Yeah. So did I.
They can't catch that shit in time.
Yeah.
It was already up in Australia and everywhere else. Like, too late.
Yeah. You know, I mean, obviously,
thoughts, Isaiah?
I have a lot of thoughts. And when I tell you,
there is a lot to unpack.
There is, and I want to frame this for me, at least for I would like to frame this, in the vein of the fact that let's make sure that we understand that a lot of this is about protecting a Black woman. So I do want to come from that space first and foremost. Now, am I saying that that's the way to do it? For me personally, and something that I would like to imagine I wouldn't do, the answer would be no, not for me. But I think people make certain choices in the moment, and they're coming from a place of emotion. I think that there's a lot of nuance here, and I think it's being viewed specifically within the parameters of what we saw on the screen, and without all of the different layers that there are to this. And I also think it's kind of being viewed, at least at first glance, from a space of there was this comedian just doing their job and heckling this celebrity couple. And that's also more layered because it wasn't just that, it was a little more personal. At least I think it was. But before I get into some other points, which I'm sure will come up as we go along.
So do you think he was justified in slapping him or not? Let's start off with that.
Do you think he was justified? I don't think I think it might seem like there's a clear answer to that, but I don't think there is. So I can't give you a yes or no exactly. Do I think you should just haul off and put your hands on somebody? No. But do I understand why he did that with layers and nuance? Yes.
Isaiah, new year, new you indeed. Huh?
I know.
I'm also thinking of it from the space of, maybe I'm also thinking of it just from the space of
protecting Black women.
Not just that first and foremost. I have a Black mother, and I know some of the ways I have reacted or responded in life in regards to certain things when it comes to her.
So, but the difference is, and I'm gonna just slide it in there a little bit.
For me, so you remember
you've been consistent with that.
Yeah.
Anyone talk about your mama, you're done deal. You're coming for them. It doesn't matter who it is.
And I'm not saying
anyone can
physically,
get
just to be clear to everybody.
It's not like a simple yes or no, but it's like you could go. Yeah, I could get that, and I've kind of gone a little side to side on both of it, but I ended up giving it time to like sit and then watching how everything, rewatching things, like, you know, watching how everything played out. The thing is, like, it wasn't consistent. Like, clearly, I feel like Will is in an emotional state. He's been through the ringer, and that's a separate layer where it's like, you know, men have to, if they show vulnerability, they're weak, which is a whole separate thing. Even like, you know, with, like, he's crazy ass right now. It's like still they show vulnerability, then they're weak instead of people supporting them and getting help. So I feel like it definitely was impulsive. It was out of his character. But if you rewatch the video, he literally was laughing until he turned over and saw Jada rolling her eyes, and then felt like, oh shit, this is probably the reason why, like, you know, or whatever reason why she was talking about, like, why she needed to cheat on me and all this shit like that. And he felt like all of a sudden that his manhood was now being threatened. It wasn't just the fact that, to me at least, that from the get-go, he, like, you know, Chris Rock said that, and then he hopped right out of the seat, walked up, and bam, like, it was, saw that his woman was upset. But then again, you have to be consistent. There's no apology after that. If I get up, I'm that upset to hit you because I feel you disrespected my wife or my marriage or my husband or whatever it fucking may be. You're not getting an apology out of me. It's just not happening. That's me personally. But what do you think, Theo?
Once again, I think it's great that you guys are thinking about his emotions. He should be sharing his emotions with his therapist and his psychiatrist. It is not my job to intellectualize bad behavior.
Yeah.
Will Smith is a rapper. He has the gift of words.
Yeah.
Chris Rock is a rapper. He's a comedian. He also has the gift of words. Will Smith brought a machine gun to a knife fight.
And it wasn't,
and it's not fair.
It's not fair.
It wasn't proportionate. Again, if he was upset and all these other things, those are personal issues. Putting your hands on my body is the worst thing that you can do, because I am in the mindset that if you touch me with your left hand, you will never use that hand again for the rest of your life. That's what I'm saying.
He's lucky that Chris Rock didn't beat his ass. Yeah.
Will Smith could have sat in his chair. He could have said the same thing he said. Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth.
Again, you're gonna catch today, and that's it. And then we did it again.
Today we would have been about Will Smith.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
G.I. Jane was a badass bitch.
Yeah, she was the only one that, like, hit the Navy SEALs. I mean, I
think she shaved her head
I think
because she wanted to prove a point. Well, he has issues and whatever. That is great. On the Red Table Talk, he said he had a therapist. He needs to pay that fucking lady more money because obviously it's not working. He needs to lean into therapy and possibly get some medications because of whatever trauma you are experiencing. Trauma you experience in your life, you do not have the right to put your hands and violate someone. Because today we also would have been having a different conversation because the way he smacked Chris Rock, I'm surprised he's standing. If Chris Rock would have fell over and hit his head and would have been in a coma today, would have had a concussion, we would have been having a different conversation with Will Smith being in jail.
Yeah.
There are consequences and ripple effects to violence. And who knows what he triggered in Chris Rock, in Chris Rock's life.
Now, think about Chris Rock. Yeah, he embarrassed, like, exactly what you said. Like, he embarrassed, and he was inappropriate of Jada. Like, but at the same time, now he just got slapped in front of millions of people. Yeah, what he said was insensitive and inappropriate. But you have to remember, also, they're friends.
And it was rude.
But, like,
if anything, it was rude. Who.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you go around slapping everyone who's rude to you? You'll be in jail. And this is in 1833 where he's protecting his wife's chivalry. Like, this is not the Gilded Age.
Danielle, what is your take on this?
Yeah,
you?
I'm just letting Theo get it all out.
That's what I
like. Get all out.
We spoke about boundaries. We had a wonderful conversation several weeks ago about boundaries.
Yep.
And I am not here for you. I mean, I'm speaking as if I'm almost Jada and Will. I'm not here for you to be the butt of your joke. Okay, I'm here to collect my award and leave.
Yeah.
And you already have I'm not here for you to capitalize and make millions of because you think that that's what you're called to do. You got what you deserved. As far as I'm concerned, he ought to get smacked the shit out of him again because you keep your name, you keep people's name. You don't disrespect. Black people in this country have endured centuries of abuse, and now we have black folks in blackface. No, I'm not here for that. I'm not here for that. Mm-mm.
And I got
no. And here's the other thing. And I just want to say this really quickly, and then of course I would like to hear what you have to say, Isaiah. Here's the other thing. He ought to expect what he got. He ought to expect. He should be glad
because he knew what he said
should
was
be
wrong.
glad. I don't want to hear this shit. He's a comedian. He can't take a joke. I'm not here for that.
No.
He should be glad. We in this country, we have been talking about how white folks disrespect us. But then we sit up there and do this self-deprecating bullshit. And I'm not interested. And let me hear me clearly. I'm not interested in patronizing what white folks think about us. They already think, listen, white folks
that's irrelevant.
White folks enslaved a whole nother race, right? They let loose the dogs of war on peaceful protesters. They lynched us, and now people are so appalled that because one black man slapped the shit out of another, he ought to slap his ass again because you don't say certain shit, and I don't care. I really feel like he ought to. I'm so mad about it because, and the next person who ought to get slapped, he should have got slapped before all this. That daggone Dave Chappelle.
I knew you were going to say that.
Keep trans people's names out your damn mouth. We are not the black women and black trans women are not the butt of your fucking joke. We are not for you here to capitalize, make millions, and go home while we have to clean up the mess from being abused in the streets by black men.
That's a slippery slope, though. If we are saying that it's okay for Will Smith to slap Chris Rock, we are opening the door
now that every time it comedy show that there is people
because
are
Chris Rock made fun. He did not make fun of her alopecia. He referred her bald head to G.I. Jane, who is a bad bitch. Chris Rock has made fun of AIDS victims. And not only Chris Rock, comedians have made fun of AIDS, of cancer, of homelessness, as a plethora of things. Once again, comedy.
That's part of the art form is pushing.
Comedy is an art form to make us be able to laugh at the pain that life offers us.
We are telling you, we have told you that that's not funny, right? We told you that, and yet y'all still want to argue the point. We told you that when Dave Chappelle 2 months ago got up and made fun of being a TERF. He proudly proclaimed himself to be a TERF. We have told you motherfuckers that it's not funny, and I meant motherfuckers because we have told it's not funny. We are living in a historical day and age where black people are fighting for their very lives. Okay, and we have always fought for our lives, but some shit is not funny. It's not funny, and I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
Smack his ass again. And this time, smack the fucking dentures out of his fucking mouth.
Oh my god.
Chiclet teeth.
Smack the chiclets out. I gotta, and I gotta say, and thank you, Danielle, for that. But I also, like I said, here's the thing. I'm not saying that I'm gonna also enter this. I don't think that Chris Rock was being malicious. I'm going to say that, right? However, I'm going to go back to what we discussed about Dave Chappelle last season. I didn't think that was funny. And I'm going to agree with Danielle. Everything's not funny. Everything's not, okay, let's make it into a context of, oh, this is all comedy. Just like you were, and listen, and obviously putting your hands on someone is a breach of boundary. So we're clear on that. 100%.
It's not breach of boundary. It's illegal.
It's yes, I understand.
Period.
It's illegal.
Me making fun of someone isn't illegal.
It's also
offensive.
It's not, it may not be right, but it's not. It's like
right. But let's not act like
we just saw Will Smith commit a crime, and everyone's saying, "Go ahead."
And I understand that fully, but let's also not pretend that words cannot be violent as well. They're not the same type of violence by any means necessary. And
absolutely.
Okay?
Yeah, 100%.
But wait, however, it does not mean that you cannot have hatred in your comedy, period. And I'm not saying that was this, hold on. And I'm not saying that was this situation. What I am saying is, just like you are free to choose your choice in any other situation, you are not free of the consequences. And that is the same thing, unfortunately, for Will Smith.
But then you're saying that you can't be like, hey, there's consequences for everyone's actions.
Chris Rock, you are not free of the consequences. And if he had gotten up and cussed him out, that would have been the better option. But he did not. So this is what we are. But also,
if they decide to strip him for his award, that there's consequences, like you just said. For
let's get into that, because let's remember who's still a part of the Academy. Okay, so we're gonna strip Will Smith of his Oscar, but we're not gonna strip Bill Cosby of his Oscar. We're not going to strip Harvey Weinstein of his Oscar, and we're not going to strip Roland Polanski of his Oscar. So I just want to be very clear that if we're stripping people of Oscars, then let's do that in retro.
And let's be very clear. I think they should all have their shit stripped.
Fine, then if that's the case, but then
hey, by the way, sidebar, why the hell does Bill Cosby have an Oscar?
I mean, I was also shocked by that, but yes.
And the honorary doctor.
I don't know that.
I was also shocked by that.
He has an honorary doctorate too. Like,
he has multiple honorary doctorates.
Yeah. Well, once again, I don't see the big deal about this Bill Cosby. So, like, I'm surprised that he's even famous.
He
yes, but I'm using.
Yeah, he's roofing people.
Well, I'm using that.
No, I know.
I wasn't following it all along, but that's what they said.
Right, and obviously, I'm using that as an example of let's be retroactive then.
But there's one thing: there's a lot of people do a lot of illegal shit in their private life.
Sorry, say that again.
They don't do it but the fact that he did it during an event, during the award show, that is not the same thing as, and it should be considered the same thing. That is not the same thing though. That's like if you fuck up outside of work and you get arrested, you're saying that everyone should lose their job or something should happen like that. But if someone were to insult you at your job, say something racist to you at your job, and you're right, you might get slapped or hit, and that's happened before, but then you also lose your job. So usually you end up losing your job. Like,
Vincent, you know what's a good example? What? If you go to a party, so say a holiday work party, and you get drunk at the holiday work party, there are consequences for that. But if you are going out to a bar or a club, and say you get into a tussle and you get drunk and belligerent, there are no consequences to that in your workplace. The Oscars is a work function.
Work function.
And he acted up at the work function. Therefore, there are consequences.
At the party.
Now, here's the thing, though. Okay, let me also add this. Okay. Now, and I'm not saying it's right, but one, these celebrities who are sitting in, and I'm not saying it's right, they are also sitting in a different set of rules than we are, unfortunately.
Amen.
Okay, let's just keep that 100 across the board, okay, so that we understand that is a part of the layer of this. The other thing that I want to add too is that for him to do this in front of people is very different, obviously, than doing this, say, at one of the after parties, which is probably what should have happened.
Or backstage.
The other thing is, two things are true here as well. Or three things, rather. Yes, Will was wrong for smacking Chris, 110%. Chris did not press charges. That's number two. And number three, the man apologized. Whatever anyone thinks of, if it's true or not, it's not my business to decipher whether or not he actually has deep remorse about that. That's not my place to do that. Chris and Will have clearly either resolved it or not. Chris, unfortunately, now has a video permanently circulating that his spouse and his children are going to see forever. So that's also shitty, which is also true. However, on the flip side of that, Chris is going to stand to make a lot of money on his upcoming tour.
These are rich people, probably.
Which has gone from 2 digits a ticket to 3 digits a ticket. So that is also true. So everyone kind of, unfortunately, while yes, everyone needs to go and talk to their therapist about it, which is the right thing to do, everyone's still going to win here because let's also keep it completely 100.
Everyone besides Jada.
Or Will Smith. Jada, Chris, and Will.
Jada is not winning because of all the memes and everyone talking about all the memes. Now.
But think about it. Will and Jada were just a meme not that long ago. I think
exactly. So you think that they'd be a little bit wise, like
they were not put your business out there and then cry. Wolf.
That's not quite how it transpired.
Yes, it is. No, because
exactly.
they've been putting your business out there.
She had to talk like literally a live talk.
Wait, Vincent. From the space of they did put their business out there, Theo. That is correct. However, what was that in response to?
Somebody in
their
circle, somebody in their circle coming out and saying something.
Right, August Alsina coming out and saying this is what happened between, which I don't think they asked him to do. So I sure would go up and go.
She was having an affair and fucking around and doing her shit. So.
Okay, but let's also speak to that. Okay. And this is where I have an issue with people speaking about all of a sudden, let's talk about Jada and how she, in quotes, did Will wrong when he was fully aware of it. And that was their
either way, they moved past it. Like that's like their own business, which that's separate.
And I don't think people should be dragging a woman for her sexual choices.
No, I'm not saying drag like that. I'm saying really
for putting her business out there. You are continuously. If I continuously put my business out there, it is normal for people to be chitty chatting and gossiping about my business, and that's what I'm talking about.
She was responding to a man
for the past 2 years because for some reason they've decided to open up their closet door and let all the skeletons come out and start doing the Macarena. Why? Leave your skeletons in your closet. Well, first of all, I didn't know that Will Smith had the capacity to curse that way. By the way.
I believe that. I think anybody, if you piss him off enough, has the capacity. No, I get what you mean. But
he shot the shit out of me. Keep my wife's name out, and I didn't know that he could emote that way.
And with his whole ass chest, with his whole.
Literally, he sat back down and was crying because you tell he was like that angry, upset.
Yeah,
but like again, it's like if you like I said, if you would did that first, and then Chris thought it would be funny to say something again. Then I'd be more behind it.
I mean, this isn't the first time Chris Rock said something, though, Vincent. You know that, right?
Chris Rock is reckless with his mouth. That's what.
Yeah, but sometimes people have to face consequence. And again, I'm not saying it should be physical, but sometimes you should face consequences for what comes out of your mouth.
In essence, we are saying that, though.
Yeah.
Maybe I
am.
In essence, we are saying that we need to be careful because that's a slippery slope.
And I know think about the door
for violence and that's violence against a black body.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. Like, kind of more like where Theo's coming from. It's like the ripple effect of this is going to play out there. That it's everyone doesn't have. Yeah, but he might be a black man, but he still has more.
But Vin, to this point, can I say this? And welcome back, Danielle, by the way. Sorry, everybody. But
thank you.
You're welcome. But I want to say this, okay? And this is, I felt a way about this for years, okay? Why is it that, yes, it puts out this, and I'm using quotes right now, you can't see my face, but why is it that we're this respectability politics that we have to operate within these parameters and this system that was created by whiteness, okay? And we can't do this or do that, or else we're just looked at as savages. So we can't respond a certain way in a system that you designed. I don't give a flying fuck about an award show.
And I can't.
I just don't. And let me be clear really quick. I don't think we should be operating specifically within these respectability politics to appease whiteness. I just don't. And I'm not, again, that doesn't wait.
And I'm not to appease whiteness. It is to protect other black men.
There we go.
Not quite. No, I don't agree with that. I don't.
Because I didn't talk about whiteness at all. I don't give a fuck about whiteness. White people, white culture is not going to sit here and say, look at those savages, because I will tell you, look in the mirror first before you start talking about any savages.
Agreed. That's violent the frame of the conversation, though, unfortunately.
Who historically have been brute and ugly and savage and disgusting cannot sit there, once again, and tell me how to behave. If you are 650 pounds overweight, obese, you cannot tell me how to lose weight and what's the best weight loss remedy. Go take it up on yourself. Go work on yourself before you start working on me. I am saying that Will Smith, as a black man in this broken system chose to use brute force, the same brute force that's used upon us by white people.
And now set examples for other
homeboy behind the scenes, or he could have checked him from right there. But he shouldn't have been violent, because again, that is exactly how white people are to us, and we're complaining about it. But yet he's being that way to another black body, and we're praising him. But it's hypocritical.
That also goes along, though, in terms of us having that conversation, though, and saying, and again, yes, having that conversation within the Black community, because I'm also going to say this. I don't give a flying fuck what any white person has to say about this situation. I don't. Worry about your own house, like you just said, Theo.
So, Vincent, we don't give a fuck about half of
it. Oh, you don't hear the other half.
Let me say this. We when we make that kind of analysis about the whole situation, we completely negate the fact that Chris Rock was violent with his mouth. He was very verbally abusive. And we can rationalize it till the cows come home and say, oh, he made a comment about G.I. No, his wife is not, Jada is not there. We can rationalize it by saying, well, Will didn't do the same thing with August Will. I don't want to care about none of that. We're talking about this particular instance. This is not a pig dipped in baby oil trying to wrestle its way out of it. No.
So then why apologize?
The fact of the matter is,
ask me, why is he apologizing then?
Who?
Will Smith has apologized multiple times.
It's mea culpa. That's what you do.
That's what you do.
But let me just say this. Let me just say this. It was an offense. It was an offense. The verbal offense took place first. But also, there are points and times in your life where forget a job, forget anything else. You need to just deal with it. And we are humans having a human experience. No matter how civilized we all want to be, we are humans and having a human experience.
Speak for yourself. I'm not human.
Okay.
Shut up.
I'm joking.
Well, I that's funny. That's hilarious. But I'm just real riled up about this whole situation because I think he should smack his ass again. And I just think he should smack his ass again in point blank. And I think where we're not addressing is some of the self-hatred Black folks are articulating in this moment. Some, particularly the Black men, the self-hatred they're articulating. It's like get back, get even about what Jada did about her own sexual independence. Who gives a shit about that?
Yeah, mind your business about that. That's irrelevant in this conversation. I don't know why people.
What do you mean? What's irrelevant in the conversation?
I think that's irrelevant when people bring that up about her sexual escapades. Like, go ahead. She should have had more.
Well, I agree. I agree. But there are people like online, like saying, oh, well, and people, because remember too, just to add to this point, I know it seems irrelevant, but there really are. Jemele Hill recently, and I really have enjoyed a couple of the think pieces that I've been seeing about this situation online. But Jemele Hill wrote for The Atlantic, and she wrote about the fact that there are two totally different conversations going on about this right now. One is a conversation within the Black community, and one is a conversation from a white space, a la Jim Carrey. He needs to go to jail. He needs
to be quiet.
He needs to be quiet. Yeah.
I like you, but go.
Same. I like Jim Carrey too, but mind your business. This is not your camp. Step over there. This is one of those things where I don't care how much of an ally or a co-conspirator you think you are right now, be quiet. Like,
if he was a co-conspirator, he would have not said a goddamn thing.
Period. This is the time when you know. Thank you. This is the time when you know exactly. Be quiet. Silence. There's no reason for you to. Now, I do want to say this, and but yesterday I had a conversation with a friend, actually a mutual best friend of Vincent and I's, and she asked a really interesting question, which I think we mentioned lightly earlier. But it was the question of, would he have reacted the same way if this were like an Amy Schumer, for example, or it was another non-Black comedian that said something like this? And my answer was no, but I want to add to that. My answer was also no, because I very much doubt that he would go up on stage and put his hands on a woman. I just don't. But
Regina Hall made a joke. But once again, Regina Hall, I think, is friends with Jada.
They were in a movie. They were in movies together.
So a friend telling a joke about my raggedy ass is different than a stranger saying a joke about my regular
absolutely
to her, like, hey Jada, do you know I'm gonna say this? Will you be offended by I make
yeah. So I don't
and that's
think
what Chris Rock should have done to Will, because they are friends. Like, and he should have done the same thing. That's why Chris Rock didn't press charges either, because he knew that he overstepped. He should have put it through Will first. It's just
and he
what
went
is
off
overstepping?
script.
Can somebody explain to me what was the overstep?
Overstepping is saying something you have no. It's crossing the line. It's saying
no. Where did he cross the line? What did he overstep?
He should never have referenced her hair to begin with, especially because to a Black woman, her hair is sacred. It's her crown. A lot of her the way she views herself is tied to her hair. You don't know what's going on in her bedroom at night or at her home. And I understand what
put out that she has alopecia.
Right. It's not like it was a secret and it was just revealed the night of the awards. This is a conversation that's been out there. She's been speaking about this. And to your point, Theo, I agree. Fine. Go to your therapist, work it out. The thing is, though, yes, go to your therapist, work it out. But to Danielle's point, we're not tied specifically to always making the right decision. Yeah. We're just not. You're not always going to respond the way you should respond. You're not always going to choose the best choice. You're going to do your best. But I mean, I'm going to give the man a little bit of grace because also he's been in the business for 30 something years and really hasn't made too much of a major misstep up until now. And this was, when he screws up, he screws up big up there. Yeah. And when he screws up, he screws up
entire career.
Yeah.
On the same note, though, it's like, okay, again, he reverted. And the thing is, like, if he, all right, so like you said, we're entitled to have our emotions. There's consequences to it, but
sure.
Hey, he had an emotional moment and he used violence. So, all right, so be it. He had time to sit down and finally think about what he did. By the time he accepted the award, 2034, there's no more that heat of the moment anymore. And he could have took that entire Oscar speech and like, not the entire thing, but he said, I'm sorry to the Academy. I'm sorry to this. I'm sorry to this. He didn't say, you know what? Like,
I hit my brother,
it, but you know what? He didn't deserve me to put my hand, or like blah blah blah.
Right.
He left that part out.
And talking about God too, it was so
talking about God. And then he goes on social media later that night. He's like laughing about it, like, you can't invite people from Philly anywhere. And
so there are consequences, by the way.
He starts thinking about it. He's like, you know,
are people going to be upset with Chris Rock if Chris Rock pressed charges? Are people going to be upset with Chris Rock if Chris Rock says that he has injuries from that slap?
No.
Are people going to be upset with Chris Rock if Chris Rock sues Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith?
No, that's understandable.
I think they'll release up.
No, he should. I mean,
today?
But I don't think it will hurt them. It's not going to hurt them.
I don't either. I think, I don't.
And nor should it. You know, I mean, I think Will Smith is highly intelligent, and he intentionally chose to smack the shit out of Chris Rock, and rightly so. I mean, that's just point blank simple. You know, you can't. The reality is, Will Smith has lived a certain life, a trajectory, right? When he talks about growing up in West Philly, he did that. When I talk about growing up in Camden, I did that. You know, some of us have gone to school, paid tons of money, and got degrees, and yet we're not nearly making as much as that bumbling fool Chris Rock sitting up there making fun of people just to tell a joke. No. True. So, you know, I'm not a big fan of trying to appropriate or trying to, dehumanize Will Smith for this action. Maybe he considers this a mistake. I don't. I think there is an appropriate response for certain things in life that you cannot just, no matter how much you rationalize and say, oh, he could have did this. Okay, of course, he could have went into the bathroom, took a shit, and wiped his ass. I mean, as illogical as that sounds, he could have done a ton of different things. But he chose to smack the shit out of Chris Rock. And the reality is that was his choice. And he exercised his choice.
But we're open. Again, I think people who are saying that, and that's their mindset, are opening the door for violence to be committed against people just because of people are wordsmiths. Because if I am walking down the street and someone says something to me that I didn't like, I can now assault them and it's okay.
Well, that's the reality of our lived experiences. First of all, he wasn't, it just didn't happen. This whole notion that it just happened to him. He's a victim because
it did.
Chris Rock is a victim because he just
no, not that. I don't think
just,
Chris Rock is a victim.
No,
Okay.
no.
I'm not saying that.
He said
he is the
something
victim.
and
He was the
paid
one
price.
that the
He said
violence
it.
was
Hold on. He
was
said,
done to.
I said something, I crossed the line and I paid the price. He said it. He acknowledges that he paid the price. And so, therefore, don't write checks that your ass can't crack cash.
And it doesn't.
The second part of that is we're living in a day and age where folks are just walking after being bullied, walking into schools, shooting up whole schools, of killing people. They had nothing to do with it. So these are apples and oranges we're talking about. I mean, the apple here is when somebody says something intentionally and thought that it was okay to do that. The orange here is, people who are true victims of the byproduct of abuse, that they did not cause. The one is a rational conclusion. The other one is an irrational conclusion by somebody who has just gone berserk. Those are two different things. And I think we ought not make those stretches.
And I don't think that, and just to be clear, because I'm pretty sure that people probably are just like, oh yes, Isaiah just be running around whooping people's asses, but like, or you think that's
straight out of Compton.
Yeah, like no, that's for me. I'm gonna say and I'm gonna be very, very intentional about what I'm saying. In my rational mind, no, I would not have responded the way that Will responded. I would have popped off at the mouth, but in my rational mind, depending on what it was, I probably would not have done that because that's generally not in my nature. If I was sitting there and I was a celebrity where, people had been talking about me off and off for 30 years and saying different things and making it whatever. And there was all of that different nuance. And I'm sitting there with, say, not even just my spouse, say I'm sitting there with my mother and there's a comment made about that. I can say, no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't respond that way, but I really won't know that until
you're in those shoes.
So I wouldn't know that because also if somebody says something to me walking down a street, the whole world's not watching. So you know what I mean? The whole world's not watching.
Rich people problem.
It's rich people. It is. It's rich people problems. There's a different set of issues that they different. What is it? Different level, different devil. So
yeah. By the way, I hope that people don't try to take what Chris Rock and Will Smith are doing and try to apply that into their real life. Because trust and believe.
The same thing that happens with there are situations
because trust and you will go to jail, you will get shot,
and that's what I was saying earlier. That's what I'm worried about. There's going to be
because Hollywood is Hollywood.
Yes,
real life. There are real life implications in the real world. If you're sitting around and you're talking about somebody's girlfriend, if you're talking about your mama this and your mama that, and you think that you can go pull out a gun or you can put your hands on someone, there are real life consequences to that. Will Smith is a man that's worth $350 million. There's some people that don't even have $3.50 in their savings account.
Exactly.
So do not expect to be, I'm gonna defend my girl. You go, fuck that. You can't talk about my girl like that. Yes, and you and your girl will be under of 6 feet under or cremated, and your ashes will be spread
or in
somewhere.
jail or something that would just perpetuate that problem. And
can I add to that? This is not. I gotta say though, this is not the first time this has happened in life. Like there are spaces in the world or hoods that you go into and you say the wrong thing to someone will shoot you.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
something like that.
And
so
we talk against it. We say no violence.
We do.
That's why we have these programs
it.
and these young people that are shooting each other because it's all about my.
He's
not going to disrespect me. And we talk about stop the violence. But yet now, for some reason, it looks like we are evolving or something. Now everyone's saying yes to the violence.
I just feel that that this situation is not. I don't think it's indicative of all Black people or of all men. I don't think it's indicative of the entire zeitgeist or the entirety of society. I think this is an isolated situation between three celebrities.
Two rich motherfuckers.
I really do. And I think if you're looking at, I mean, and Will in his own right, as an actor is, comedic as well in nature. I think if we're looking at these two people or three people, if we include Jada as well, of course, because this
Will was laughing. Will was literally laughing.
Well, that's not the point I was going to make about, I know he was laughing, but like what I wanted to say about that is that this is, I really just don't think it's like indicative of like, we see this on the Oscars and then it's just going to be emulated in that vein.
Not everywhere.
If we're saying about this, we should also apply the same thing to the conversations that happened in that Dave Chappelle situation and that. No,
I think that these are conversations that we're having in our real lives. We need to be careful about what we say is acceptable. Like I just told my nephew last week before this happened, "Hey Frank, you need to keep your hands to your." Because someone in school called you stupid or dummy or ugly or offended you and hurt your feelings does not give you the right to put your hands on them. Well, I think we need to be careful in real life because there's no amount of grace that I will show anyone who places their hands on my child because my child said something. There's no amount of grace in my real life that I will give anyone because I said something that you did not like and you believe that you have the right to put your hands on my body. Those are the conversations that I'm thinking. I'm thinking more our people that we come in contact with.
I see.
Those kinds of conversations. This multi-layer thing with Will Smith and my, people's issues or emotional issues or traumas, that is irrelevant when you put your hands, you violate someone's body. And once again, there are real life consequences. I have a beautiful lawyer. I will ruin someone's life just for the shits and giggles if you think that you can put your hands on me because you believe I said something reckless.
And I agree. Well, I agree with you 100%. I want to move away from the believing someone said something reckless and understanding that someone said something disrespectful.
Even if I did, even if I told someone, go fuck your mother, and
I don't think I would warrant someone hitting you at all.
And she died 2 weeks ago, go tell me to go. You once again use the same weapon that I am using against you towards me. That is called warfare.
Agreed. That's also the assumption, though, that everyone's built the same.
That is not called warfare. That is called something else.
Unfortunately, though, that's also the assumption that everyone's built the same. I have been hit before for saying something I should not have probably said. I'm going to put out there and say that. Okay. And again, you would think I'd be sitting here just without any kind of anything that was wrong immediately. What I said.
We sit here and complain about people shooting people because they feel threatened. We say that people's bodies are being violated because people just said something. How can we say this for one issue and then completely say something totally different for another issue?
I think it's who's doing that. When we speak about that, are we speaking in terms of someone using a weapon, such as someone that is? Are we speaking in terms of race? Are we speaking in terms of just person to person?
Person to person? Where we
in general? Then yes.
In certain places, if I say something to you and then you assault me, I have the right to carry. And if you assault me just because I said something, shitty, bang, bang, 3 on your chest and call it a night.
True, and disproportionate response. I agree with you on that.
And this is what this was, a disproportionate response.
I disagree with you. You know what? Because the reality is in cities and counties and countrysides all over America, this kind of response is playing out. Although it happens to be even more dramatic. What do you think is happening in Chicago with these young folks killing one another? I mean, people are telling you there is a code here. You can call it the code of the streets or the code of the gentleman's code, whatever code you want to call it. But this disregard, I mean, we can't just blindly disregard the fact that there is a code here and say, oh, I'm a comedian, I can say what I want to say. No, You can't. There are repercussions, consequences for everything. Now, you can't go around expecting civility that you are not willing to afford other people. And I'm quite frankly sick of it. I don't know where Black people got that from. I don't know, and I don't get it. They don't want to do it to LGBTQIA folks. They're the first ones to slam LGBTQIA folks. I mean, murders against Black trans women are at an all-time high. Black folks want empathy and respect, but they're unwilling to give it. You can kiss my ass. You know what? You should expect it. And this notion that this is somehow a an unorthodox situation. This is not the norm. That's not true. What the justice that Will Smith handed out last night or the other night, it's the kind of justice that's been happening, and certainly in the city where I'm from, in Camden, New Jersey. There are a lot of young folks that lived the next morning after a party after they said something they shouldn't have said, or been somewhere they shouldn't have been. And so what are we teaching our young people?
Danielle. And that's the thing. Like, there is an unspoken code to some extent. It is a balance, though, of finding. And also, when you have a platform, Chris Rock fucked up, and he said something. Yeah. I think where Theo's saying is like, yeah, he got hit, which Theo's not agreeing with that. But like Will Smith, he had the if he handled it slightly different, he could have took a different road and still had a big impact, showing like that's not something that you do. I mean, he did have an emotional reaction, but I just don't think that. And the thing about it is, like, he didn't have an impulsive emotional reaction right then there. Like, if someone said something, like, for example, people have said shit to Isaiah, I've choked them out. Like, I've literally, Isaiah's literally lifted me off the ground, trying to pull me off of their neck. Yeah. Which is, again, it's weird that I'm arguing this point, like, because I'm on the opposite of this right now. But that was an immediate, that I didn't even think about that. Like, I literally just went right in. Yeah. Like, Isaiah, but Will Smith sat there, laughed about it, and then
seems calculated.
He started feeling some kind of way. Then he's like, "Oh, now I need to go up and defend my woman." And it's like, that's my problem with it. It wasn't like a heat of the moment, immediate response. That was him like, "I need to now prove my manhood." That wasn't like, "Oh, you said something twisted to me. You only get back to get like fucked up instantly." No, that was like, "Oh shit. Oh man, now I need to go defend," and that's my kind of problem.
And it didn't come off like he was defending Jada, by the way. It came off like as if he was defending about himself.
Yes, like she looked at like, this is why I was doing another thing, why I was looking for love elsewhere and do my own, like, because you were provided. This is one of those things that I want a man that the moment someone tries to disrespect me, he gets up and he fucking does it. So she gave him that look and like almost like, this is what I'm talking about. And then he's like, "Oh shit, now I need to get up and now prove a point before." Like, that's my problem with it. It wasn't like an immediate thing.
In that comment though, Vincent, I just want to be careful though to not frame it at whatever your thoughts are on Jada or whatever our thoughts are, whatever on Jada. I want to be careful to not frame it as this is Jada's fault. Okay. Or I just want to be careful about, I think that's all, that's a,
or isn't it Isaiah?
Oh, shut up. But I just think it's a, in all seriousness, I think it's because here's also how I viewed it as well. Okay. So none of us are inside their heads. So, and I could be totally wrong, right? But I'm not inside his head. So when he made that joke, because think about how many times celebrities have to sit and take it on the chin and just grin and bear it and grin through something that they really just want to be like,
I will take it.
Well, they're celebrities.
Okay. But here's
$1 million pillow.
What's that? I'm sorry.
They're celebrities. That's part of the job. Go sleep on $1 million pillow.
Do you ask for that going into the celebrity space? I don't think that's like especially 30-something. I don't think you get that
they
right
ask
off
for
the top.
And they get the comfort of doing a commercial for $25 million.
Money does not make me comfortable. I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't make me feel money better. Sure does make me comfortable.
I mean, that's great, but it doesn't mean you could. I mean, I can't cuddle with my money. Sorry.
I do.
I mean, that's wonderful.
No money, no problem.
It doesn't. Listen,
money I love makes money. Me very happy.
Listen, I love money just as much as the next person, but guess what? It's not going to make up for the fact that somebody said so. It doesn't heal every wound.
But Will Smith and us, we're not the same people.
We're not.
We're Black.
And that's the major point
Jada Pinkett and the average woman are not the same woman. Like, I don't feel sorry for Jada Pinkett.
So what would be the relevancy of that?
So, Jada Pinkett, I don't feel sorry for Jada Pinkett, who has alopecia and has multi-million dollars. I feel sorry for my sister-in-law who has alopecia and doesn't have the resources and the funds like Jada Pinkett.
So to that point, exactly what you just said, though, then why are we, whatever your level of knowing of that someone is dealing with that condition, whatever level of severity is for the person, then why is it okay for someone to make any type of mockery of that, period? I don't think there's any type of excuse for it. I just don't. And I think that maybe you should, and here's another thing I want to mention, which this is very important. Most of those jokes or the script for the show is written. Am I correct?
Approved.
You are correct.
And approved. Wait, before we get in, sorry. Just I don't want to lose my train of thought here. Okay, so that is generally, it's written, correct? It's approved beforehand. Now, I heard, and we need to verify this, so we should definitely do our legwork, and and I can even do that before. But I believe I read somewhere or heard that he kind of went off script a bit and did not stick directly to what was written for him.
Listen, whether he went off script or not, the one thing I think we're kind of overlooking is that he got off easy, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, quite frankly, Will could have pulled out a gun and shot his ass. I mean, I know
Will could have been shot right
You're
back.
appalled by you're appalled by me saying that, but I mean, who's to say that he wouldn't have done that? I mean, that's the thing. We're complaining about, oh, he shouldn't have done that. Or, I'm sitting here reflecting upon, and no, I don't. Before I go any further in my comment, I want to address Theo's comment. I don't hierarchy people as far as the value I place on their lives. So the same empathy, the same respect and dignity I afford your sister-in-law is the same respect and empathy I afford Jada Pinkett Smith. Because if I start doing that and playing the dozens like that, my life as a Black trans woman is of lesser value than somebody else's life. And that is not going to happen. Everybody's life is on equal. I don't care how much money you got. At the end of the day, we all shit. We all get sick and we all die. And that's just the end of it. And I feel like that this is what we're forgetting about the situation. It was a very human response to a very human offense at the end of the day. And I reflect back on the historical comments about this. Even Maxine Waters, Auntie Maxine, the congresswoman, the great Black congresswoman, elder stateswoman from California, has been called a monkey in a wig. And she, with dignity, responded to that and held her own. And how many times are we supposed to, as Black women, Black women, when you talk about the lowest on the lowest of the lowest on the totem pole, Black women. And here's a man who stood up for his woman. This is why I have so much respect for Will Smith. Good, bad, or indifferent. Because you know why? When Kanye West said, get on and leave your ass for a white girl, he meant that shit. He meant that shit. And so many Black men, when they get a little chump change in their pocket, because they can throw a ball in the hoop, they get on and leave your ass for a white girl. Good, bad, or indifferent, it happens. And it happens more than we like to acknowledge. And so, I can respect a brother who can stand up for a sister, and I would say the instances of alopecia are higher among Black women. Having said all of that, I don't think we need to continue on this path of appropriating responses, how somebody should respond. Because the fact of the matter is, we're tired of this bullshit. Black women of all kinds are tired of it. And Black men should be tired of it with us. And they should certainly be making fun of it.
A lot of deaths out there.
I just don't think this is going to make that level of influence on additional violence and additional death. And I think that I'm going to stress this, that conversation, or not even conversation, and mockeries of, for example, of the trans community, like with the Dave Chappelle situation, that alone, like, you're having certain types of conversations about that on a world stage, you're basically going, you know what? Go out and assault and hurt and kill. I just don't think it's of the same. I don't think it's of the same influence. I just don't. Like with the Will and Chris thing, I just don't think that people are going to watch this and say, oh, okay, so I should go out and smack someone, versus Dave Chappelle is speaking in a certain vein about the trans community, and you might be influencing someone to just go, "Oh, let me."
No, but a common rebuttal in that situation. A common rebuttal in that situation was, "Oh, he's just a comedian." You guys,
and I don't think that's appropriate either.
You guys are too. You take everything to heart, and they don't understand that the rhetoric surrounding the disrespectful rhetoric does lead to devaluing people's lives, does lead to devaluing how people show up in the world.
But then we're also putting Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock on that same platform where Dave Chappelle has said horrible things about trans people. Yes, what Chris Rock said was inappropriate, but could we really put him in the same box as Dave Chappelle?
No.
I'm going to tell you why. Yes, I'm going to say yes.
It's not the same thing.
I'm going to tell you exactly why, and it's not just.
Are we conflating?
Well, wait, no. Theo, I have a direct rebuttal for that, and I added this to my notes intentionally for this reason. Chris Rock seems, and I'm not saying, again, let's not totally equate and put Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock on the same box. Fine, I will give you that. I will say this. Chris Rock will dance for, and when I say this, I mean this quite literally. He will dance for white people and make fun of black people in order to do it. And what I mean by that is he sat on a panel. I'll send you guys the link in the group chat. He sat on a panel with 3 white comedians as they said the N-word, hard R, alongside him and cackled it off. But it's okay because he's a comedian. I think we need to start not just letting, you're funny, you're a comedian. And
they've all been coonies. We can say the same thing about Will Smith. Okay. Will Smith has been known to be a coon and chucking and jiving as well.
Sure.
When does the accountability? When do people take accountability? It's always but this and but that. And I respect you immensely, Theo. But I mean, there is always this, again, the pig who has been bathed in baby oil. It's always a slippery pig in these conversations for black men. There is no but. When do we as a people start exhibiting the same amount of dignity and respect for one another that we require from white folks? Goodness gracious.
Well, that's what makes it a problem for me, that he went and attacked another black man.
No, but why does it make it a problem for you that he verbally attacked the man's wife?
Because it doesn't. Because I understand what alopecia is, and I took the joke totally different because jokes are subjective.
But it's not about you, dear. And when do black men stop doing that?
Subjective.
You know what?
So
that's
you
what
saw it as
offensive.
I didn't see it as offensive.
But
and then
two other people.
But it's not about you.
Dear friend,
you're not a black woman.
I know he didn't make a black woman joke.
Yes, but
it's about empathy, sir.
Yes, that's the part. And you possess that. And
I don't have empathy for Jada and Will Smith, who are $350 million, who worth $350 million.
But
I have empathy for the average person that I have contact with every day.
That's problematic.
But also it doesn't make, just because they are worth a certain amount of money does not make them inhuman. That's what we need to also.
No, I have empathy for those who I come in contact with every day. Not these ethereal beings that who knows what the fuck is going on with them.
But we also all four of us have
ethereal beings. They're certainly not ethereal beings, in my opinion.
But all 4 of us have very strong opinions about these.
Because I didn't see an attack on a black woman. Because once again, I too have a black mother and have black sister-in-laws. If I observed an attack on a black woman, I would have said this absolutely.
That's how I feel about it.
This absolutely is not okay. So just as much as you guys stand supporting black women, so do I. I didn't see that joke as an attack.
Absolutely, and I'm not saying otherwise. I want to be clear.
Why are we qualifying? Why? See, that's problematic to me. When black men qualify the joke, that's not that bad. And
I didn't say that's not bad.
That's what his big lip ass sit there and say, "Oh, was it? Come on,
comedy
wasn't that bad?" Before he got smacked, hold on. Before he got smacked, this is what Chris Rock. You should have saw the dumb fucking look on his face. You should have saw the look on his face. It's not that bad. Come on, he was in the bad. And as Will Smith approached him, he looked like a dumb fucking fool because he is a dumb fucking fool. Stop tearing down your own people for a check. That's what he did. Okay, that's what he did. He wanted him a check from the Oscar committee or whatever, and he got it. And he also got a slap across the face on national television.
Okay, and then
he got what he deserved.
All right, so then he didn't press charges. Like, he didn't do anything. So then it's like, okay, you know what? And if he does, that's his own prerogative, but he still is, he's owning it. If there's this unspoken thing, like, you know, about, like, you know, just the code of the street, whatever it is, he's now owning it. He's not calling the cops. So now it's like, okay, like, now, so what do you, like, that's the only thing.
And the man apologized. I mean, so I feel like Chris Rock, yes, it was incredibly humiliating and embarrassing for him. He said, I'm not pressing charges. Then, and also I want to add too, that we did see, to bring it into a different space here, we did also see our other brothers, you know, come out, Denzel Washington, Tyler Perry, they walk over, they go, hey, you know, are you good? Are you having a psychotic, I don't know exactly what the words were, but you know, you having a psychotic break? Are you like, what happened here? You know, to a lesser
degree. No
one
checked on Chris Rock.
Actually, that is not true.
No one brought him any ice?
Yes.
He got what he deserved.
Tyler did check on Chris Rock because there's a video of a lean over of Chris Rock from the stage where they're checking on him too. So
he got what he deserved. And guess what? They got a check. That's the check on.
And I do think they should handle it within the. And I also sorry, Danielle, going back to, you know, to kind of what I was saying at the beginning is, you know, and then, and to add, and then P. Diddy, you know, he says, hey, okay, we're gonna go and handle this like family, and we're gonna resolve this. So again, to be handled within the community, hey, let's bounce back, let's figure this out. This was shitty, this was embarrassing. I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't a great feeling seeing that. These are two people that have been a part of the culture for my entire existence. So it was not great to see that. However, there's a lot of different moving pieces, and it's not a one size. What's that?
There's a lot to unpack.
There's a lot to unpack, and you said that at the beginning. Absolutely, it's not.
I don't think it's a lot to unpack, and I respectfully say that because it's just as simple as this: if you don't want to be smacked across your fucking face on national TV, then don't go around disrespecting people. Make jokes. You know, you don't have to make people the butt of jokes in order to make people laugh. You don't. Okay. That's a person. People who are skillful comedians who are skillful know how to make people laugh.
And that's
without doing that.
But what people do when people sit around when they were younger, say your mama this, your mama's so fat, you so ugly, and you so. But that's what this has been a thing, though. Why now, when Chris Rock is doing it, it seems to be very problematic.
You know what?
I don't think it starts with Chris Rock.
Hold on. Let me answer his question because I you know what? Because we are evolving as civilized people. We used to enslave people. We don't do that anymore. We used to practice human sacrifice. We don't do that anymore. We are evolving. And why not?
That's what Theo said, though.
But it doesn't look like we're evolving. We're accepting violence on a black body. And yet at the same time, we're crying violence against a black woman.
There we go.
It's hypocritical.
But why are we?
We're talking about violence towards a black woman, but condoning violence against a black man. It's hypocritical.
I want to be clear. I'm not varying degrees here. I'm not condoning the violence from one black man to another. What I am condoning is the defense of a black woman by a black man against
violence.
But there's more.
Okay, I didn't say with violence.
There is more than one way. I have seen my father defend my black mother and has never had to use physical force. And where my father walks in with his queen, people kiss the ground my father's on because my father has defended my mother and has put her at the forefront of his life without using physical violence.
And you know what the other crazy part of this is? Queer people who are disrespected consistently by Dave Chappelle and other comedians like Chris Rock. Queer folks defending Chris Rock in this moment. That's the nonsensical part of it to me. That's the nonsensical part of it.
I'm not
and queer people have been the brunt of jokes going back to Eddie Murphy. When are we going to say enough is enough? We've told them enough is enough. Stop doing the shit, and they keep doing it, and they keep getting checked for it. This time, it ends right. You get smacked on the fucking face on national TV. Maybe it'll end now.
To add a little bit of a light joke to this, was the joke that funny to to get hit over.
No, it wasn't even that funny. It didn't.
I didn't laugh at all from it. I didn't think it was like.
It received a very lukewarm response.
I thought all the jokes leading up to were
Chris
corny.
Rock. Again, like the same way I don't understand why Bill Cosby is funny to people. I don't understand why Chris Rock is funny to people.
Yeah, he's not that.
He's not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
So he's not. So I'll say something else interesting. So not that he's my favorite, but I always thought Chris Rock was kind of funny. This was not, and it wasn't not funny because of necessarily of the content of it, but the delivery wasn't even that funny. It was just kind of like it was dry, and I thought he could have been. Personally, I thought if you're gonna go for the joke and then you receive this type of assault or this violence from it, I mean, at least really go for the joke, like go for like an actual joke that had a little bit more thought to it. I think personally that was very low hanging fruit. I do. I think it was kind of just like, oh, okay, well that's right there. They've been together for how long? So I think that, there's a lot of content to speak from over like they've been together, like 20, 30 something years. So there's a lot of content that he could have chosen from. But I mean, again, like I'm not totally applying it to my real life, except really for the portion of that includes Jada.
And there's some people who actually are, though. Which is
I think you have to be. I think you have to possess the right amount of intelligence, though, to figure out which pieces you want to pull from and comprehend and understand and dissect. I think if you are taking something and you're looking at the TV and going, "Oh, that looks like a great idea," then I pity your pain.
And I want to know why is this support for Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith as if they've made an impact in our lives or they're going to make an impact in our lives. Again, Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith are so removed from the community. He's so removed from West Philadelphia, where he was born and raised. Like,
and on the playground is where he spent most of his day.
You know who is more close? Like if they sat there and they would have tried to bash, and I have gotten upset. The politician Ayanna Pressley, who does suffer from alopecia. And some people have said some very vile things about her, and she's making some actual change in the Black community. That's a problem. Where was all the uproar when people were doing that to her?
Yeah.
I don't think there was an uproar.
There wasn't.
You can speak about
there seems to be this army and this uproar behind rich-ass Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith. But for the people that do matter, the people who are close proximity to our community, who are making a difference in our communities, we're not doing the same thing.
I think that's also subjective, though, because can we really say everyone's not doing the same thing? I think we all have very strong convictions regarding that. And for me, Jada Pinkett Smith is literally just she is for lack of a better word right now that I'm searching for, she is as a placeholder to me right now. So she is representative of. Okay. And I'm taking away the money and all of that stuff. That is not what I'm looking at here. I'm looking specifically at the fact that she's a Black woman and she suffered from alopecia. Plain and simple. There's not really much else to that for me other than it's shitty. And there are women that experience this and that go through this. I know, just like women that do, so do I, that are close to me. And I just feel that I just feel like it was inappropriate, point blank, period.
Yeah.
And do I think he should have been smacked in his face for it? No, but that's my opinion. But also, it was a shitty comment. I don't care if it was comedy, period. It was a shitty comment. I don't think Black women should continue to be the butt of jokes. I don't think it's funny. I don't think if we're talking about what should be represented and what we should be teaching people that Black women are not fair game and are not fodder for jokes. It's not funny.
I must be missing something.
What do you mean? Missing what?
Something. And my sister-in-law must be missing something too, because she didn't see it as that either.
I mean, everyone's not going to view something the same way. Again, as you said, you thought, oh, you might find something funny that I don't think is funny at all. You might find something entertaining that I find a complete lack of entertainment in. It's not one size fits all for everyone. And that's why we're all different people and we have different opinions, and that's okay.
Well, if you're missing something and you didn't see it as funny, then of course you would find that the response was outlandish and inappropriate and uncalled for. But the offense was happening all night. I mean, they were first the butt of a joke at the hands of a Black woman. And then this disrespect has been happening. But Jada maintains a talk show or podcast called The Red Table Talk. She talked about it in depth, about the scarring on the top of her head, how she has to cut her hair low now, and she didn't want a whole bunch of questions about it or a whole bunch of grief about it. So she was just sharing it with her audience. I happen to be a part of that audience. So, if you miss that context, maybe you missed the fact that why it would be particularly painful, but it shows on Jada's face as soon as he makes the comment. She doesn't find it funny, and Will kind of grimaces and laughs, and that sort of awkward laugh. But whether we found it to be funny or I don't go around qualifying offenses. The fact of the matter is they were offended. I don't qualify it by saying, well, they make so much money and so did it, or they put their life out there because she slept with August. She didn't put her life out there. Like, I'm not going around. Offense is an offense. And again, Chris Rock ought to be lucky he didn't get his shot, because had he done that at a party in Chicago on the west side of Chicago, his ass might be sitting in the coffin right now. And that's real.
And then another Black body would have been in jail yet again.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying about the nonsensical irrationalness of saying that somebody would have been shot behind that. But my point is, it's happening every fucking day.
But that's why we need a different example, though, because what are we doing other than putting ourselves in the ground and in jail?
I just feel like that, I want to say this too. To the point of him laughing it off and then looking over at Jada and going, holy crap. So
that looked uncomfortable, by the way. He looked like that wasn't like a serious laugh.
It was
like an uncomfortable laugh.
Yes, thank you, Theo. It 100% was. And you could tell. I mean, first of all, if you know Black expressions.
And she wasn't laughing at what he said.
She wasn't. No, she wasn't.
It wasn't funny for her. But so here's the other thing I want to add, just as and I'm sure you can all get this as well. So if my husband and I are sitting in a space and someone makes a comment, and Vincent specifically, this, if we're all sitting together and we're making jokes and little digs at each other, because as we do, oftentimes by default, you and your spouse or partner or what have you will look at one another to a temperature check. Mm-hmm. Oh, was that okay that person said that? Or, ooh, and Sean and I do that often in multiple social spaces where we're checking on each other, especially if somebody says something slick and you're like, ooh, and you can tell your partner caught that some sort of way. And maybe you didn't think it was that funny, but you were like, let me laugh this off. And so then they don't think it's uncomfortable. And then I don't think it's uncomfortable. And we're just going to not be uncomfortable together. Ha ha, let's laugh. Later on, you're going to talk about shit though. But I knew this mother. But in that situation, again, I've never been in that situation before where it's literally we're famous and there's an entire audience watching it, again, but that wasn't shocking to me to react after you look over at your partner and you're like, oh shit, they did not think that was funny. What did you say to my, right? That. Hey,
sometimes couples have a little telepathy and they understand and they speak to one another without actually speaking.
Absolutely. Without a doubt. And there's been exactly.
I mean, no, it was very clear that she was not about it.
All she had to do was
face.
But
there was no telepathy about it. There was no she was blatantly pissed off and annoyed, and yeah, it's what you said.
But what I don't hear, and I mean, I promise you, Theo, tomorrow I'll go back to loving Theo because it's just, I mean, we can have a conversation and be disagree but not be
Absolutely.
disagreeable. And so, but I want to say, that's what I don't hear in your voice, in your assessment of this, Theo. I don't hear empathy. I don't hear empathy about the fragility of a woman who is suffering with alopecia and how she was humiliated in that moment. She is not the butt. Her medical condition is not the fucking butt of a joke. Shit. She was humiliated on national TV.
Oh, you know what?
Because he was humiliated.
You won't hear the empathy because I don't have empathy for famous people,
and that's problematic.
That is
I don't have empathy for famous people.
And in my opinion, that's problematic.
I am a little shocked by that
because what I do for a living, I come hands on, face to face with the reality of life.
Right.
Hollywood is not the reality of life for me.
Okay, but you don't need to have empathy, but could you have sympathy, though?
Dress and
no, I fuck sympathy. No, empathy.
I don't.
So what you want her to cover it up instead of
being... I don't have empathy for people who are an illusion of what real life is.
What?
I don't think Hollywood is a representation of real life. If in my real job I did what Will Smith did, I would be talking to you, calling you collect right now from jail.
But we don't do.
There's not real life consequences for things that happen in Hollywood.
But yet biology binds us all. And so, what are you? Why is this fact that you're separating things?
They're not figments of our imagination.
Whose husband is worth $350 million.
But they're not figments of our imagination.
She is not dealing with the disease in the way that the average woman is dealing with the
now
disease.
You want her to wait. And see, this is the problem. Now you want her as a black woman to dance on a corner.
I'm not talking about her blackness. I'm talking about her disease.
But so now you want her as a woman to dance
and I'm not talking
in a
about
certain way because she's a woman of means. Are you serious?
About her disease.
We can't strip.
Are you serious?
I'm talking about her disease. Once again,
I'm talking about her disease too. You want
the
her
same way I don't feel sorry for Magic Johnson, who has HIV, in comparison to the average person that I see every day that has HIV.
Okay, this is not a conversation if I can't finish a complete sentence. So let me just get this straight. I want to get this absolutely 100% straight. You want her to respond to a disease a different way because she's a woman of means.
No, I don't want her. That is what it's happened. That's what's happening. When you have money, you can deal with disease differently than the average person.
I agree with
that. We've had conversations about this, Theo. We've had conversations about
it. Doesn't do.
I know, like I said it and you said it. I know millionaires. I know billionaires. I've been in the same room with billionaires. I mean, for heaven's sakes, a billionaire financed my education, and of course, I mean, they're human beings.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they are processing and having a different experience than the average person.
But do we not think that disease
affects people
regardless, even if you do have the resources? I get having the resources to deal with something very differently than not having the same resources, right? So I understand that difference 100%.
I don't. Cancer is cancer.
No, cancer is not cancer. That's not alopecia. It's not alopecia. The way that Jada Pinkett Smith and the resources that she has is even different than my sister-in-law, and my sister-in-law is well off.
But it still is emotionally hard to handle that.
HIV is different than the average person that I see every day dealing with HIV. Resources do matter when it comes to disease and how you experience that in your real life.
You know what? You're doing a whole lot of qualifying.
I'm not doing qualifying. I'm speaking about what I know.
No, yeah, and you're qualifying folks, and that is very alarming to me, to know that I've been in situations where people looked at me and made presuppositions about who I am in a medical context in an emergency room. Let me tell you, I had weight loss surgery and I was bleeding internally. And when I got into the ambulance, you know what the motherfucker said to me when I got to the hospital? What drug did you take? What are you overdosing on? And just because I didn't come up in their system, and I had weight loss surgery, bariatric surgery, and I was bleeding from the incision inside, and my body was basically getting ready to shut down because my breathing was labored. And this motherfucker said to me, what drugs have you taken? So that's dangerous when we do that kind of shit, when we make presuppositions about fuckers. That's really dangerous.
I make preconceived notions about rich fuckers.
Not funny.
All right, so we got
about that.
We can do this all night, but
we're at the end of the. We're gonna have different perceptions of this. I don't think we're gonna have a fine-tuned
right. And you know what? So here's the deal. Keep making jokes and keep crossing lines and keep getting your fucking face slashed in. And be lucky,
not me.
Be lucky that you didn't get shot up.
Not
right?
me.
If you were at a party on the west side of Chicago,
never.
I will say,
New Jersey.
About money.
Guess what?
And
your ass would have been.
I will never be in the west side of Chicago. The same way I will never be in the bad part of Brooklyn. That I will never put myself in that predicament. I'm not going around disrespecting people and having in return having to retaliate towards me.
So there you go. You can see that.
I will say, and I think I can speak for Vincent and myself as we live in the same region. We don't know people that would do things like that.
I don't know people that would do things like that.
But I will say that. But it doesn't mean that
that's not my reality.
Right. It doesn't. However, the reality is that regardless of status, everyone is a person and not a figment of anyone's imagination. The feelings are real. The experiences are real. The consequences are real on both sides. And I think that's a good place to end on, don't you guys think?
I was going to say on that note, yeah.
Okay. Editing this long piece of shit.
Lord. I really have though, regardless of, we definitely have varying degrees of opinions and experiences and whatnot about it. However, I gotta say, just like always, if I'm gonna have conversations like this with anyone, I can't imagine having it with anyone but the three of you. So thank you.
You know what? Fuck y'all. Bye.
Oh, shut up.